Imagine betting your life on the fact that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu are telling the truth. Benjamin Netanyahu would never lie, right? Right? He'd never manipulate a country to go to war, right?
If you take away the Soviet Union and its chief proxy, the PLO, international terrorism would collapse.
If you take out Saddam, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. Obviously, we like to see a regime change, at least I would, in Iran, just as I would like to see in Iraq. The question now is a practical question. What is the best place to proceed? It's not a question of whether Iraq's regime should be taken out, but when should it be taken out? Libya is, while no one is watching, under the cloak, is trying very rapidly to build an atomic bomb capability. I believe that the next step is to choose. It's not a question of whether you have to take action, but what kind of action and against whom.
Today it's Tel Aviv, tomorrow it's New York. I understand America first. I don't understand America dead.
This is a time for war, a war for a common future.
Right? Look, let me just say this right from the jump. I'm not going to war for Benjamin Netanyahu, and I'm definitely not dying for Donald Trump. Just thought I'd make that very clear just from the jump, right? When Iran responds, I'd like to see Canada stay the fuck out of it, right? We keep those borders super tight and ensure we don't have any sleeper agents heading our way. That's all. That's all. We're not following the US into another endless war in the Middle East. We're not dying for Israel. That's just my opinion, right? In case you've not been watching the news, let me catch you up. The war we feared is finally here. No, it's not quite World War III just yet, but Donald Trump yesterday confirmed that the U.S. has hit 3 nuclear sites in Iran.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
Look, I'm surprised they actually managed to hit Iran before the intel hit signal chat. We know Pete Hegseth has a problem keeping top secret information secret. What is even more interesting is that Trump essentially declared war without authorization from Congress. So if you needed any confirmation that Congress is essentially a lame duck under this president, well, there you have it, right? What's worse is that before this attack on Iran, it was clear that the intelligence that the U.S. was receiving on Iran's nuclear capabilities might be shoddy. Because think about it, Tulsi Gabbard, Trump's director of national intelligence, told a Senate Intelligence Committee that the intelligence community continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. Trump then contradicted his own director of national intelligence. He said she was wrong.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
She then obviously fell in line like a good yes man. But those are the circumstances under which Donald Trump might have declared America's next war. Possibly shoddy intelligence. Anyways, Trump says the strike was a spectacular military success. And yet, in the hours following the attack, the UN nuclear watchdog and the Gulf countries have detected no radiation rise at the Iran sites or any radioactive leaks. So what does this mean? Did they fail to do the damage that Trump thought was achieved? Iran's nuclear facilities are buried 80 to 90 meters underground. This makes them virtually immune to aerial attacks, hence the bunker busters. So did the bunker busters fail to bust the bunker? That's the question, right? And if Iran still has their nuclear weapons, then what happens now? What happens now? Iran's foreign affairs minister posted this on Twitter. He said, last week we were in negotiations with the US when Israel decided to blow up that diplomacy. This week we held talks with the E3/EU when the US decided to blow up that diplomacy. What conclusion would you draw? Now, he's asking what conclusion would you draw? I think this is Iran telling you that there is no more diplomacy on their side. Since that attack, Iran has promised everlasting consequences. Now, that could mean an attack on American soil is coming. Turkey has warned that just like the process that started with the United States interventions in Iraq and Afghanistan led to more radicalization and terror in the world, the attack on Iran by the United States is of a nature that can create similar results. That is the scariest possibility. Now, as a Canadian, that means we as allies of the United States have to be on high alert. Attacks could happen here as well. They could happen here too. What we all fear is that this regional conflict could easily go to a global level. Russia has already said they would not take very kindly to the US trying to off Iran's supreme leader. A lot of people forget that Iran has a comprehensive agreement with Russia, which includes security. And Russia has nukes. We know this, right? So that's how close we are to World War III, you guys. That's how close we are to World War III. Now listen to what Benjamin Netanyahu says here.
In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace. President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel thank you. The forces of civilization thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. And may God bless our unshakable alliance, our unbreakable faith.
Look, I don't know if you hear it too in the way he's speaking, but you can tell this man is working Donald Trump. He is working him. Like, you can hear the carefully placed compliments. Like, he is playing Donald Trump like a tambourine, right? He understands Trump's ego and he is working him. You can just see it. It's almost like when my wife wants me to buy her something, like she puts on a nice dress, a little bit of lipstick, calls me her king. Maybe she promises I can have a lollipop after dinner. You know, suddenly I'm out here pulling out my B-2 bombers and bypassing Congress. I don't know. You don't know what I'll do for a lollipop. I've done crazy things for a lollipop in the past. Anyways, Trump has threatened that any retaliation would be met with even more force from the United States. It is interesting that since that attack, the United States has now said they're ready for peace talks. like they've already blown up the nuclear bunkers, according to Trump. So why are they in such a hurry to have peace talks, right? Anyways, I suppose the last thing we have to talk about is whether Donald Trump was right to attack Iran in the first place. Now, the way I judge that is on a few different criteria. First, did they succeed? You know, if they succeeded, you know what, it's fine. But did they succeed? The early signs suggest that that is a no, right? Trump has declared victory too soon, as usual. On that count, this was a failure. If Iran was not enriching uranium to weapons grade, they are now. like they probably are now. Here's the second way we can judge if this was a success. Was there imminent danger? I mean, was Iran really that close to nuclear weapons, which they were willing to distribute to their proxies around the region, as Netanyahu said? Because here's the thing, Iran has had a civilian nuclear energy program for like 50 years. The question is, were they seeking to go further? There's conflicting information on this. Israel would like you to know that Iran could develop a nuclear bomb next week if they wanted to. The UN nuclear watchdog, on the other hand, as of June 2025, has said that while it cannot guarantee Iran's nuclear program is entirely peaceful, it has no credible indication of an active coordinated weapons program either. So there's no evidence either way, according to the UN nuclear watchdog. But look, none of this matters because it is Iran. Iran has brought this upon themselves. I'm not under any illusions here. They have been designated a state sponsor of terrorism by the United States since 1984. They've been accused of providing finance, weapons, and training for Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis in Yemen for years. So respectfully, this is why nobody believes their word. This is why even when it is obvious that Israel is probably leading Trump by the nose, this is why nobody can take Iran's side. The impression is that Iran is not seeking a nuclear weapon to defend themselves, to keep themselves safe from Israel or whatever. They would seek nuclear weapons to attack their enemies. And that means Israel, that means the United States, and by extension its allies. That could mean even Saudi Arabia. I don't think most people realize that Iran and Saudi Arabia don't like each other very much for a few reasons. And so, on the grounds of imminent danger, you have to believe that there was imminent danger. I know the left and CNN would like to paint a kumbaya picture which makes Iran out to be some sort of victim here. They're not. Trump, for all his flaws, took action that might have prevented a future catastrophe. Unfortunately, if it is true that they failed, history will show that Trump was the guy that ordered a preemptive strike on Israel's possibly shoddy intelligence and failed. That's what history is going to show, irrespective of the motivations for why they carried out this attack right now. Now, if this leads to a global conflict, history will show that Trump was the man who withdrew the U.S. from a nuclear deal with Iran. About that deal, Trump said the agreement was so poorly negotiated that even if Iran fully complies, the regime can still be on the verge of a nuclear breakout in just a short period of time. In just a short period of time, the world's leading state sponsor of terror will be on the cusp of acquiring the world's most dangerous weapons. Now, that was what Trump said. We all know what Trump says doesn't necessarily equate fact sometimes. So what's the fact? The fact is this information by Trump, even back in 2015, this information was unsupported by intelligence and other analysis. Iran was thought to be only months away from a bomb when the deal came into effect. But during the 15-year life of most provisions of the accord, Iran's capabilities would have been limited to a level where it would not be able to produce a bomb. That was the deal that was on the table that Trump ripped up. Okay? Let the record show this. Here's another thing Americans believe. A lot of Americans believe that Barack Obama was shipping billions of dollars on pallets to Iran in order to sort of assuage them and just prevent them from actually going through with developing a nuclear weapon. Trump famously said, this disastrous deal gave this regime, and it's a regime of terror, many billions of dollars, some of it in actual cash, a great embarrassment to me as a citizen and to all citizens of the United States. When you fact check what Trump says here, here's what you find. It is not true that the world powers paid billions to Iran. The deal allowed Iran to regain access to its own money, which had been frozen abroad as part of the sanctions that were lifted. As for Iran specifically getting some cash, that refers to a debt that the United States had with Iran dating to the rupture in relations in the 70s. Iran, under the Shah, had paid the United States some $400 million for military equipment that was never delivered because the Islamic Revolution cut off ties. And now, all these years later, after Trump walked away from that deal in 2015 and failing to deliver a replacement deal in his first term, Trump is now calling Iran to the table and asking them to sign a deal. Well, you see, the problem is, if he does believe that that mission to hit Iran's nuclear facilities was actually a spectacular military success that has set Iran's nuclear program back by decades, why do you still need a nuclear deal? What is there to talk about? Riddle me that, okay? Why is Trump in a hurry to get Iran to the table now? Surely, if they have blown up Iran's nuclear capabilities, they have the luxury of time, no? Anyways, here's what I really want to know. Did Trump save us from a catastrophe, or has he just created a problem that the rest of the world is going to have to deal with? Did he just inadvertently start World War III? And I want to know how you guys judge this. Would you consider this mission a success? Or in light of the fact that news is emerging that they didn't actually do anything, would you recommend they go back in, for example? You guys let me know what you think, okay? And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Take care, you guys.